welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. And welcome to the Toffee Blues end of season awards show, the very first of its kind. With the season having drawn to a close, we've been voting on our individual awards for this campaign here at the Toffee Blues over the last few days. And of course, I'm joined for the awards ceremony of sorts by Terry McAllister. The voting has been done for this anonymously between our core group of 17 contributors. That's John Barlow, Jerry Gibson, myself, James Wharton, and Terry McAllister, of course, Paul McAllister, Max Carlisle, Tom Clark, Thomas Robertson, Jordan Carroll, Cameron Hay, Greg Denholm, Ben Garner, Ben Crawford, Louis Crawford, Jacob Ritchie, Edward James, and Harry Colley. So we've got, there we go, 17 votes for each segment, and I'll be revealing the top 2 picks for each category in ascending order, and then me and Terry will relive some of the memories from each category for the season. And in what I think we can all agree was, Terry, I think a very, very disappointing season, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them, isn't it? Like,
it's one of them. It's that dog face, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It didn't go to plan. Obviously, it started very badly. Picked up in the middle and ended meekly. But, you know, we've had bad seasons before, and there's always moments in a season that you can look back on and just go, that's what being an Evertonian's all about. If it was all about the ups, then no one would be an Evertonian.
Hasn't it been terrible for you the last 4 years, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years?
That's not the club we are. You've got to take the both, and you know, we found
the smooth at the very, very, very rough.
Yeah, there's moments to look back on, and it's terrible, but it's Everton.
But it's terrible, but it's Everton.
This whole every show we do now is just it's terrible, but it's Everton.
Ultimately, it might be seen as a season of great change, and one where we actually made the great change rather than the previous other seasons of great change that we've had that haven't really.
Yeah, great change for the even worse in the past. Hopefully this one's for the better, but we'll get on to that anyway. We'll get into it. Like I say, it was a very disappointing season for the most part, and we have got some negative awards to give out. So we'll start with the worst and save the best till last. We'll get the negatives out the way first, and we'll start with the award for worst moment of the season. In second place, with 3 votes out of the 17 of us, it was Everton's 2-0 home defeat to Norwich City in November, one which pretty much sealed the death knell, really, for Marco Silva during his Everton tenure. Pretty disappointing day. You didn't happen to be there, did you, Terry?
Yeah, I did. I sat in a seat that I don't usually sit in as well. I was in the lower Bullens, so what you don't get from the overall scope of the game, you see a lot more individual. Because where I usually sit lower Gladys, but you see a lot more intricacies when you're in the seat that I was in for this Norwich game. So I could see,
Sidibe not getting over.
The space he's got. Joe Sidibe, for fuck's sake, get over!
Yes, Schneiderlin, shooting funny looks at the crowd when he was going to pass backwards for the 50th time, and they all sort of groaned at him when he was about to do it. Changed his mind, shifted gears, and passed forward, and then looked at him as if we were being reasonable. Then there's the obvious Joe Sidibe. The right-hand side of Sidibe and Iwobi for that second half was running up the lower Bullens. Oh, it was something watching that, mate. It was. You just think, how did we not go? How did Norwich stay up when we went down? Because we were absolutely awful.
We could say that about the Bournemouth game, the Villa game, any of those relegated teams. Villa stayed up, didn't usually the one who went down. Watford, we actually beat them twice. That's interesting.
Yeah, we beat them 3 times. Beat them in the cup as well.
Oh yeah,
it's always nice.
I forgot about all those positives. It's too busy.
Well,
how awful a season it's been. And on that note, what do you think's going to be a number 1, Terry?
Oh, I wonder. It's the one I voted for, isn't it?
Yeah, in first place with 9 out of the 17 of our votes. It was Everton's 1-0 defeat to Liverpool under 12s in the FA Cup. I remember being absolutely inebriated in the Black Horse watching this, and I think it was absolutely out for the count by about half time because it was just that depressing. I couldn't help but sink pint after pint. It was just, I had to do something to numb the pain, and it really was. I mean, we've had bad games this season, but that was the true low point, the most embarrassed I think many of us have been to be a Blue for quite some time. I know, and all the Liverpool fans getting on our backs going, Shankly was right about Liverpool and Liverpool reserves and all that crap. It was a really, really depressing day, and it was definitely the low point of a low season. So I can understand why so many of us have voted for that. I actually didn't vote for that one, to be honest. I voted for the Wolves game the other week because I just thought, we've just been hammered 3-0 off a team who only got promoted 2 years ago, and now they're already levels above us, and that just makes me at the rate that crap teams have just come up and overtaken us. It's just, it's a damning indictment of how bad we are and how we're just letting teams bypass us. And the future doesn't bode well if we carry on like that. But I can well understand why so many of us went with the derby. Terry,
It's just when you get used to losing derbies, they've got the footballing gods and Everton have got to conspire to think of new, more creative ways to hurt you because you've become immune and you've become quite numb to losing derbies. So they think, what will we've got to get a little bit more flamboyant about it. But honestly, you said lowest point in the season. It's one of my lowest points as a supporter. That
it was for me as well. And I mean, I said the Wolves game because of the whole they were supposed to be one of our rivals for Europe at the start of the season, and they hammered us, and the levels above us at the moment, and that's kind of why I went with that. I think it was maybe because it was a bit more recent as well. It was still hurting a bit, but I numbed the pain with about 7 or 8 pints in the Black Horse to sort of get me through that derby.
Well, that Norwich game was dreadful, but at least the sort of silver lining of it was more or less the end of Marco Silva, and that chain reaction
was that a pun there, silver lining?
Yeah, that it was. Well, I meant that honestly. It started the chain reaction, which ended with us getting Carlo Ancelotti, a much better manager. So it can be looked at as painful but positive. Whereas that was just I came away from that derby thinking, this shameless club. How much more do they want to put us through? How much lower is it going to get? I mean, when I think of my lowest points supporting the club, honestly, FA Cup final 2009, the going out of the Champions League to a bent ref, losing the FA Cup semi-final against Liverpool when we were ahead and looked the better team in the first half, and then probably this derby where we lost to their kids. It's in me top, or as it were, bottom 5 Everton fan experiences.
I think that was more depressing than any of the other ones you mentioned, because at least against Villarreal, we were valiant. Against Chelsea, we weren't great on the day, but the run to that final, we were valiant. The 2012 was really embarrassing. I hated that one. But
yeah,
at least it was a proper Liverpool team, even though a not very good one. But
no, I mean, I don't want to chew the food twice and say go over those games, but that's how bad it was.
I think it was worse than any of those.
I think, for me, just speaking for myself, as I get older, I don't get as upset as I used to. I was in floods of tears after the Villarreal defeat, and obviously I couldn't tell you. I was a little bit older at the final, so I was upset, but I wasn't that bad. But I think it was now I don't get to. I mean, I'm upset at the time. I get a bit pissed off, same way as anyone does when Everton lose. But nothing really hits me hard. Whereas that, I just came away going, this is just getting beyond a joke. It's it was like someone has written this
the script for this.
Yeah, and they hate Everton and they love Liverpool. That's what it felt like. It's gone from being sport into black comedy now.
Yeah, it's like that. Well, it's a Shakespearean tragedy.
Yeah. So, yeah. let's crack on. Too many
terrible.
But it's Everton.
The entire show is just this.
You get over it eventually, but you know when you're asked what's your worst
when we finally win a game against that lot, we'll get over that. So give us another 10 years, and you never know.
I'm still alive.
Well, if I'm still alive, I mean, I'm not sure whether that dictates my life or if Everton put me through any more misery. I'm not too sure at this point.
Right.
Yeah, we'll move on anyway to the other negative. We've only got 2 negatives, which is a good job because we could take a long time on all of them. So yeah, worst player of the season. In second place with 5 of our 17 votes, Fabian Delph.
What do you think?
Not surprised, you, Terry?
Not really. I think he's sort of got there because of disappointment, because of the fact that he was a new player and he's come in and he's been, you know, he's not been very popular as he had. His die was cast when he replied to supporters on Instagram after that game, after that Liverpool game. He would have had to have won as a derby after that to win his background. He's got a long way back. It's.
I don't think there's a way back for him personally, and given that he's getting on a bit and he doesn't contribute much, I can see him maybe lasting 1 more year and being on his way.
I mean, you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. The club, he could be, they could be very happy with him, from an off the pitch point of view. But I think it's. I don't agree. Just for the record, I don't agree whatsoever with any supporters messaging players on social media at all. But not only did he reply, which I don't personally think he should have done, but I'm not in his shoes. He might have said I'm well within my rights to reply, but the knock-on effect of that means he's then become, he's not starting from a level base with Evertonians anymore, because there's fake quotes put out that replies, and then a lot of people just take that as face value.
An autograph and all that stuff.
Yeah, he obviously never said those things, but if
I
he's
don't
replying...
know, but regardless of the post-derby fallout, he also told Holgate to show some respect, which, given Holgate's had twice 5 times the season he had, I think that was a bit insulting.
Well, it's one of them as well, isn't it? If he'd been playing well every other game, he might have got away with 1 or 2 things, but he's been shite. It's like, I've never known a player to bollock other players so much while actually being crap himself. Like, Phil Neville wasn't as bad as him. If Cristiano Ronaldo
near as bad as him.
If Cristiano Ronaldo starts bollocking his teammates, what are you going to say to him back? He's clearly better than everyone else and working harder than anyone else. But Delph's like, you were used to be bollocking other players when you're swinging with your wrong foot and we're conceding goals after a set piece at Bournemouth, and you get yourself sent off for no reason away at Watford when you're already on a card.
That punt when you needed to keep the ball against Newcastle, that was the worst.
That was the worst because it was the exact scenario he was meant to be the man for. Like, we've got this experienced player we're bringing in so he can put his foot on the ball and see us out of tight situations, a little bit of intelligence, a little bit of composure, a little bit of experience.
He doesn't have none of that.
We conceded a goal very late in a home game which we dominated, and instead of just controlling it and carrying it or getting a foul or putting it on a corner flag, he booted it about 2 yards away from him, about 50 yards in the air, and then they collect the ball and score. So it's like, so you are really you're not even doing what you were brought in for, so what is the point of you?
Yeah, nuisance. And who do you think's going to be at number 1, Terry? I'll hazard a guess it's someone you voted for.
Yeah. There's quite a few. Could have been, like, Schneidlin's probably getting off quite easy because he's left. I think
because he's gone. That's because he's gone.
If he was still here, he'd be getting it, lesser lights like Tom Davies. If it was just based on the lockdown, Andre Gomez could be in there. Loads, let's be honest.
I was tempted to say Davies, to be honest, but in the end...
It won't be.
I went for the very same one that I'm almost certain that you voted for, and he's at number 1. GYLFI the Ghost. GYLFI Sigurdsson. Yeah, so I think given that both of us voted for him, I think we can kind of go into one on why he's at number 1 in this category and why he wins the award for worst player of the season. The Ghost sums it up really. What has he done this season?
He's pointed at where he wants the pass to go instead of him quite a lot. Never known a more like gutless player than him. Like he's a midfielder who's probably the most experienced midfielder. International captain and what have you, and Premier League veteran at this point. And how many times have we gone through games where he doesn't make a single successful tackle? All right, he's not a tackling midfielder, but he should be, attempting more of them. He should be making one or two. When he gets the ball, like how many players in other matches do you see be highlighted by the Sky Sports cameras of not like committing to tackles and pulling out the tackles? Gary Neville was giving him abuse at the Spurs game after lockdown.
Carragher did it as well in one of the other games.
And Carragher did it, saying, pass forwards. It was just, you could feel frustration of these like pundits looking at him going,
"You don't like us either.
Is this for real?" And a lot of a lot of people might defend him and say, well, he's not playing out of position and blah de blah. It's like, yeah, but he wasn't doing anything before the change of formation and manager. Before we went 4-4-2, he was pretty much a big part of why Calvert-Lewin wasn't performing at the start of the season, because we're playing 4-2-3-1. Calvert-Lewin's by himself, and GYLFI's just
waiting for service off as number 10.
And instead of getting service off him, he's literally just standing next to him in a lot of games. Like Sigurdsson as a number 10 was a statue. He was just awful. And then he's had the odd good game where he's that too. But like that's like 2 or 3 times across the whole season. And I'm telling you, the games where he's like that Liverpool game we mentioned, where he's just getting walked past all game, it's absolutely pathetic. And I think, if possible, he should be the first one out the door this summer, because imagine the weight and relief that a lot of supporters will feel the second he's just gone.
Yeah,
he's looked awful. He stood out as awful in a team that is playing awfully. Like people have held off criticising other midfielders because he's been so bad, because they've been marginally better.
That's a very good point. And also, I think, for me, GYLFI Sigurdsson's arrival in August 2017 was around the time when it really went to pot, I think, in terms of our recruitment. I think when we already had 2 number 10s and spent 45 million on him, I think GYLFI Sigurdsson, for me, epitomises how our shocking transfer policy of years gone by, and the dead weight that he continues to, shackle the club with. I think that not only will it be a dead weight off the club books, but I think it'll be a symbolic moment when he goes that, we maybe move away from that era of shocking recruitment and hopefully move forward.
Well, fingers crossed. He was the biggest symptom because we massively overpaid for him. Like, even when we were buying him, I think I'll hold my hands up. I wanted him. I thought he'd be a good player for us, but I'm not, professional football manager. And as even me, who wanted him at the time, didn't think it was worth that money. Like, I felt Swansea had every right. It's very similar to Zaha at Palace last year. I thought they were well within the rights to demand big money, because we had big money to spend, and they were selling a player who may have been the difference between them surviving and not.
And it did prove to be the case for Swansea, actually.
Yeah, we instead of buying him for 25 million, which might have been a fair price at the time, we bid against ourselves and ended up paying 45, and then didn't get the striker that would, like, Sigurdsson at Swansea was him and Llorente. He just put ball after ball after ball in the box, and Llorente just scored them. And we were going for Giroud at the time, and I think we were planning on doing that, but we never got him. And then when it went, we never went and got another target man. Tosin's not really a target man, is he? We got 6 months later. He's the biggest example of what's been wrong with the recruitment at the club. We've overspent. We bought players without a plan in mind, and players who don't fit the rest of the squad. Awful. And he going will be a massive, whether it'll improve afterwards, I don't know, but it'll be a huge statement towards we're moving on from this disastrous 2017 era, because it hasn't worked.
No, obviously, and also, we always talk about Alex Nyarko and the shirt incident, and we've seen Mark Noble in the corner flag at West Ham and all stuff like that. I just love someone to walk on the pitch and, you know, a la like World War One, World War Two, hand GYLFI Sigurdsson a white feather, because he is the biggest coward I have ever seen pull on an Everton shirt.
Yeah. I just, like, I can abide poor footballers because we've seen poor footballers. Every club has seen poor footballers. But
We'd rather fair share.
if they are, we're a club who ironically, admittedly, but we ironically like love Dennis Strakowalesi. He was fucking shite, but he ran his ass off and he worked hard and he fought for the badge. There's people out there who like Nias.
Yeah, well,
he's even worse.
I think people like Nias, even now, would like Nias more than Sigurdsson.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like Sigurdsson. It's because he doesn't care. He just walks around the pitch, points away. You know, looking at the centre back and saying, "Give it to him. Give it to the full back who's 10 yards away for you because I don't want it. Even though I've got 30 yards of space behind me and I can move into it or I can pass. You know, pick a pass. He doesn't want it. He's a coward. He's got no stomach to play for the club, and he's earning a lot of money. So if we can get rid of him, I didn't think we'd be able to.
He's an absolute disgrace.
I didn't think we'd be able to shift Schneiderlin, but we have. So if we can pull off a second miracle and find a new home for him, then I think the air will be a lot cleaner at Finch Farm.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's clear the air, but also clear the wage bill as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think whatever way you look at it, let's get rid of Sigurdsson this summer. Please, Marcel, do something and anything, just get rid of him. But yeah, just one thing before we move on from it. I don't want to criticise Ancelotti too much, but what was he thinking giving him the armband on a couple of occasions? Is there something that we maybe must be missing, or?
I don't get it, but you've got to appreciate as well that we don't go to training every day. He might be great vocally. He might talk a great talk on the pitch. I don't get it, but let's be honest. Carlo Ancelotti.
Haven't said that. Maybe it's the captain's job to point, so it works well in that respect.
Maybe. I mean, Carlo. There's a million reasons it could be. It could be that he's actually, people hate Delph, but apparently Delph's quite well liked at the club behind the scenes on an off the pitch basis. It could be that Sigurdsson's the same, that they think, mentality wise he's got the right thing. It could be that he was the vice captain unofficially when Carlo got there and Carlo hasn't decided to change it. There's all kinds of things it could be. Carlo, because from reading his book, he's got the Italian sort of view on a captain where it's just the most experienced player. The English have got a very, serious, outlook on a club captain, whereas Italy haven't. It's just the most experienced player who can get it.
And yet Italy have got some of the greatest captains, the national team in general, like your Paolo Maldinis and your Barese's are some of the greatest captains of all time. Yeah,
true, but it could be anything. It could be that Carlo thinks he's right to be captain for some reason based on something we don't see, because let's be honest, Carlo's Carlo and we don't know. He's forgot more than any of us know about football. Or it could just be a simple case of GYLFI was the captain on the pitch after Coleman when he arrived, and he just hasn't bothered to change it.
Yeah, maybe that's the thing. Maybe he doesn't want to upset the apple cart too much in that respect as well. So maybe it's just get to the season and maybe get to the end of the season and maybe review everything, and hopefully GYLFI Sigurdsson will be vice captain in another club next season.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right. Well, there's our negatives out the way. Thank God for that. It took long enough, which is unsurprisingly, given the season we've had. But we'll move on to the positives. And first up, of course, we've got the award for goal of the season. We've got two. We've got a joint second place here with one vote each out of 17, which tells you the first place is a bit of a unanimous one. But with one vote out of 17 each, we've got Richarlison versus Crystal Palace, which is a very good choice, if you ask me. A very nice goal. And Luca Dean's free kick against Lincoln City in the EFL Cup, which I completely forgot about, to be honest. So, yeah, two very good goals there. I think, what do you think? What do you make of those two, Terry?
Well, I'll tell you a little inside track. The solo, the one-man vote for the Richarlison goal was me.
Well, interestingly, I was very close to putting that myself, but I obviously went for what everybody else has gone for, and obviously we'll move on to that in a moment. But why Richarlison then?
You know what? I know what the winner is. We'll go on to that in a minute. But when we voted, I didn't know the broader context of things, which will become apparent in a minute. But I just looked at it as a pure, on the strength of the goal. And that Richarlison goal against Crystal Palace with the Dominic Calvert-Lewin flick on.
The flick on and the run.
When Richarlison picks up the ball, it's like that reminded me. And I hate making comparisons like this because people take it out of context.
There'll be Liverpool fans. I know what you're going to say.
It made me think that's like Thierry Henry. That's what he used to score. Like he used to pick up the ball there on the break and just motor towards the opposition goal, and he'd have two defenders trying to jockey him, just petrified to go near him, and when he just slots it in, he's only got a little bit of the goal to
Picks it right in the bottom corner, doesn't he?
I just saw it. Went, we're not a world class team, but that is a world class counter attacking goal. Like there's the two strikers combining. The number 9 flicks on for the number 7 to take away up the pitch and just score. I just thought that is brilliant. I love it. I thought that was a great goal.
I watched that goal live. I was on holiday. I was in Slovakia at the time, and you can actually you don't have to use dodgy streams back in, though. Obviously, I've Everton's on Sky and empty grounds now, but back then, life was a bit more normal, and I was on a holiday. What are holidays? And I forgot what they are. But
remember them?
Yeah, but yeah, you can get the Premier League live on Slovakian television, it seems, and yeah, I enjoyed that game a hell of a lot. And it made my holiday just a little bit better as well, which was brilliant. Yeah, it was a great game, that Palace game, and that was probably the high point of the season, if you ask me, when we actually looked very much in the race for Europe. And well, the less said about what happened afterwards, the better. But yeah, that was a really good game and a really enjoyable day as well. But on to number 1, and you'll be unsurprised, I think there's maybe a bit of sentimentality going on here, obviously with the news that Leighton Baines announced his retirement last weekend. And of course, in first place with 15 of the 17 votes is Leighton Baines' pile driver in the last minute against Leicester City in the EFL Cup quarter-final, which, of course, I voted for myself as well. No surprises, really, Terry, is it?
No, especially, I gave myself a qualifier saying I voted when I didn't know he was retiring, but I haven't said that. I've just realised neither did anyone else. It was a great goal. It just absolute vintage Leighton Baines. Just picks it up, strides toward the goal. Seems like he's in no panic whatsoever and just lashes it in. And it was the manner of it as well. It was like last minute in the cup. The goal just in isolation, forget the fact that we went on to lose on penalties, which is just peak Everton, let's be honest.
It's terrible.
A great goal, a fitting last goal for an Everton, modern hero, an iconic player of the Premier League era for Everton, underrated.
Absolute gem.
Brilliant Everton
gem
player.
Of a goal and a gem of a player.
I know, it belongs alongside his other great goals for the club, just that Leighton Baines sort of coolness about it. There was no panic to get to do something with the ball. It was like he was playing on a park. He just took a few strides forward and just that sort of, I think lashed is the best way to put it in, because he didn't even smash it or.
But it didn't look like he swung it at all. He just hit it and it just went top bins, and it's like it's what he does.
Just think, if we'd have known at the time that we wouldn't get to sign off it, see Baines off in the way we'd like, I think we'd have all probably done a big pitch invasion for him at the end.
No,
because
I think that was one of them. That was the most bitter pill to swallow, was not going through after that game, because that goal deserved to keep hard running that cup going.
I know it did, but yeah,
it is what it is.
And a fitting winner for the goal of the season.
I know, fitting that the goal of the season should go to the player who bows out this season as well. It's sad to see Leighton Baines go, but he goes out with the goal of the season award, fitting end to his Everton career. Moving on, Next award, best moment of the season. Now, this was actually a very, very close one. In second place with 7 votes out of 17, Carlo Ancelotti being appointed as the Everton manager. I think, as Teddy said earlier in this show, a big possible turning point for Everton, appointing one of the world's greatest managers into the hot seat. You can't argue with anyone putting that, can you? I mean, it was a massive moment that restored a lot more optimism to a fan base that had enough, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it is the story of this season, isn't it? Like, this season will be just known as the Ancelotti season. Like, everyone refers to a couple of years ago as the Allardyce season, but in like a negative way, like, because the biggest thing of that season, like, it was, the poor recruitment, the poor results, the lack of cohesion, and then we ended up as a sort of signifier of how badly it went, appointing Allardyce. Whereas this season will be like this. It's just dominated by we appointed one of Europe's most decorated managers in Carlo Ancelotti. When we had, journalists
Moyes
saying Moyes is the best we can get. We need
Eddie Howe.
Eddie Howe, yeah. It's just, let's be honest, we don't know how it's going to go. We've all got hopes that it's going to be, this will be the right one. We're going to get it right this time. But even if it doesn't, this was an unbelievable moment in Everton history. A multi-Champions League winning manager who's managed at Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, AC Milan, everyone comes into Everton, and not in 15 years when he's done the rounds at loads of little smaller clubs and he's washed up and he's just coming to have a job.
That's what all the cop-outs are saying, isn't it?
Well, he went to Napoli, who finished second the year before. Now, his job at Napoli, I don't know. Clearly, he wasn't satisfied. Didn't give a satisfactory account of himself. But Napoli are off their heads anyway. Their owner's absolutely, round the bend.
They were sixth when he got sacked. Which I think if we were sixth right now, I think we bite everyone's hand off.
Yeah, this is what I mean. It's like, he's come from Napoli. He hasn't come from, with all due respect, like from Norwich, and he's like been slumming it for a few years. He wasn't quite at that Real Madrid level anymore, but he only went one rung down to the, regularly in the Champions League, always in title races for title picture type clubs. Like, it was still a massive coup to get him. And this will be the season when we got our highest profile manager ever, and that's the defining point of the season. Hopefully, in a few years, we look back and go, well, you've got to, the same way Liverpool do with Klopp, going, well, the first season you can't really expect anything. He's got to just get his ideas in, and then eventually the success will come. I'm looking for Ancelotti to have the same thing. We'll look back on this first season and go, God, do you remember how Ancelotti was playing with Sigurdsson,
Nias and Tosun, and
yeah, and he was playing with Sigurdsson on the left, and he had to play Tom Davies in a 4-4-2, and whatever else you want, and bringing Nias off the bench, and Sidibe had one sock on, like.
Forgot what Sidibe in his one sock.
Yeah, I think I voted for that for some category of. I might have just
moment of the season, Sidibe losing his sock.
It might have been this. I might have voted for Sidibe losing his sock. It might have been weirdest moment. I don't know. I can't remember, but that might come up again. But yeah, we might look back on this half season and go, God, do you remember this crap he had to put up with when he first arrived before he turned us around? I hope so.
Yeah, fingers crossed that we can look to the future with that kind of optimism. In first place, though, which edged it with 8 votes out of the 17, was Duncan Ferguson in charge. Everton 3, Chelsea 1 in December. And I mean, I voted for this myself. I think this was unbelievable, really, because when you think how awful this season's been, this is one of the highest points of my time as an Everton fan. It was falling in love with the club again for probably the first time since it was very young, probably since the cup final or something. I don't know about you.
I voted for a more specific moment than this. Like, it was within that sort of bracket. Because I read the question as the moment rather than like the
match. Well, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I voted for Ferguson hugging the ball boy when he scored. We obviously before Silva got sacked. Right after Silva got sacked, everyone at the club, young goals, whatever, were all just jaded and just, is it ever going to go right at this club? We've sacked another manager. We're starting all over again. We obviously don't know at this point that we're going to get Carlo, and we're linked with David Moyes.
Eddie Howe.
And I remember putting on Twitter going, I'm not, when we found out Dunk was taking the games that he was taking, I remember thinking, I'm not ready for this club to make me hate Duncan Ferguson, because I thought we're going to lose a slew of games because we were playing a lot of good teams, remember, in December.
Yeah, I think, let's not forget that Dunk took over as a caretaker the same way Unsworth did, and Unsworth stunk the gaff out.
Yeah, and I was thinking, these players haven't got it in them to, like, turn it around. And I thought, I'd never hate Duncan Ferguson, but I thought, I'm not ready for this club to make me, be angry at Duncan Ferguson. Because Duncan Ferguson, when I was growing up, was my favourite player. Yeah. Like, absolutely. Even though
anyone of that age group would say the same.
Yeah, I mean, early 2000s, so I didn't get the whole Duncan Ferguson, the 90s thing. But Duncan Ferguson was my favourite player. I remember being there when he, his last game for Everton, he scored the rebounds, the penalty.
I don't know if I told you, that was actually my very first game at Goodison.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I was obviously behind the goal in the Gladys Street, and he scored the rebound, and we knew it was his last game, and I was just, like, everyone's singing his name and all that, and I just thought, there's nothing sacred. Can't I just have Duncan Ferguson? Why have we got to drag him into this mess we're in now? And when he turned it around, and the players were all, that Chelsea game were all running through brick walls, and the Man United game where they were fighting for their lives, and I fizzled out a little bit by the Arsenal game, but I just thought, you know what? That is exactly what the club needed. They needed an injection of old school Everton right into their neck, and it did the job, because we beat Chelsea, drew with Man United, drew with Arsenal when everyone had us down for like a loads of hidings, and myself included, I couldn't see where we were getting the points from, and just that, or that raw Everton joy of, like,
that was real. That was what I said. I was down in Bristol actually visiting my best mate, and the two of us, obviously, like you, we grew up worshipping Duncan Ferguson, and to see that player you grew up worshipping on the touchline, overseeing a really impressive win against the odds, we said to each other, that's proper Everton.
Yeah.
Right there.
Just the optics of it all, like, he come out and he had the club suit on, but he still had his sweatband on, and then you find out after the match,
Kendall's watch as well.
That he had Howard Kendall's watch on, and like, he's gone 4-4-2, and like,
everyone wanted a 4-4-2, and
yeah, it was just like, oh, this is what we needed. It's been crap for ages, and this won't last forever, but this is great. Football's a game of passion. It's, you sometimes, forget all XG and formations and transfers and all that. The core of football is just Duncan Ferguson celebrating with a ball boy in Everton, playing blood and thunder football, and blowing Chelsea away.
Richarlison scoring angry headers in like the first minute and all.
Yeah, exactly. I loved it. This video is, how can I talk in the same season about that Liverpool reserves defeat, and then this in the same season, within the same 6 weeks probably? I just think Everton experience all over the highs.
The roller coaster, innit? It is a roller coaster.
Absolutely brilliant. As good as Carlo coming in was, I'm glad this edged it, because this was the most special moment for me of the season.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, I think I made some kind of analogy that I think you were impressed with when I said, when Dunk hugged the ball boys, he hugged all of us, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. That was all was in deep down.
He did, and it was one of the best moments I can recall as a supporter. I mean, even in one of our darkest eras, but certainly what I can remember as a fan growing up, to have that experience, that was probably one of my best experiences as a supporter. I mean, I know we've not had much to shout about, but it was.
It's genuine. well when it's from Duncan Ferguson, because he's a man who is not only didn't court the limelight, he's actively avoided the limelight for years. You could tell in his press conferences he hated that bit of it. He was getting asked questions about keeping the job. He was getting asked, particularly questions about, the future and whatnot. Will you go and be a manager somewhere else? And you could tell, I hate that I've got to do the press for this because I don't want to be in front of TV cameras. I just want to get us through a dark period, and that's what he did.
And let's not forget that he did that so often as a player as well.
Yeah, and I just thought...
again, he, if anyone knew how to get us out of a dark situation, he did, and he did it again as a manager.
Yeah, walking up and down a touchline in the height of December, and he's got just his shirt on. And I just think you see other managers, some not far from here, who do everything for the camera, and only half of it's genuine and half of it isn't. Just think Duncan Ferguson is 100% genuine, because if he had his way, he'd never be seen by a camera. And he doesn't like that side of football. He never did. So I never saw him do interviews for years. Never saw him do any media for years. And he came back as a coach quietly. And he had to step in, and he just thought, I'll put myself in this uncomfortable scenario because it's what Everton needs. I love the man.
Yeah, Duncan would definitely stick one of those Chico Azul Hummel socks over the camera so you can't see nothing. He's one of them.
That was quite a swerve from my passionate rant about Duncan. You went, yeah, let's get the Hummel sock in.
The Hummel sock. I mean, what would you call it? The iconic Hummel sock. It's like the Mr. Hummel sock.
Honestly, it's too early in it. It's not coming out till December.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's just in time for with the anniversary of Duncan Ferguson hugging the ball boy. That's what they're waiting for.
That's what it's for.
Early Christmas present. That was the best way of putting it. I was down there just before Christmas in Bristol, and it was literally the best early Christmas present I think any Evertonian could have wished for. It was an absolutely brilliant day and unforgettable, even in the darkest seasons. Probably my best moments as an Everton fan. Because I mean, definitely since the semi-final in 2009 anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it just hammers home how depressing the 2010s have been for Everton, really. But
yeah, not that.
But there you go. Definitely a deserved winner of the award for best moments of the season. Big Dunk hugging ball boys and seeing Everton on their way to a victory over Chelsea. Fantastic stuff. Moving on now, and we're going to be looking back on former players in our next award, which is the Toffee Blues Icon of the Year, similar to the sort of Everton Giant Award, which is issued at the end of every season, where we pick a former Everton player to put in our sort of Hall of Fame, if you like, and pick a sort of Everton icon in this respect. Former players, we've got 3 tied for first place with 3 votes each out of the 17. One of them we've just named, Duncan Ferguson. Howard Kendall, again, unsurprisingly, and Tim Cahill. I think none of those can be sniffed at.
No. I wish I hadn't gone at such length for Duncan Ferguson now for the previous segment, because that'd just be saying it all again. But yeah, Duncan, goes without saying. Howard Kendall goes without saying, a little bit before our time. But,
it's Howard Kendall. It's the club's greatest figure, arguably.
Yeah, a man who's got a stand named after him and will undoubtedly have a statue of him put outside the new stadium. And in a club where there's a lot of heroes and icons and legends, to be a shoe-in for the statue is no it's no easy feat. Tim Cahill, I can't remember if I voted for it. I think it was Ferguson I voted for, but Tim Cahill,
for me. Go ahead, sorry, Terry.
We've talked a lot in the last week or so about, can you call players legends if they ever won anything at the club, in the context of Leighton Baines, because there seems to be the sort of want to name Baines a Everton legend, but the only pushback on that is he didn't win a trophy. I personally am quite hardline on things like that. I think a club that's got a history of trophies like we have, and success, obviously not recently, but history doesn't just stop after a while. The whole picture is we're a club built on trophies. So I think at Everton you've got to have won trophies to be a legend. It just, and the thing about Cahill is he is always the second name people bring up after Baines for that, in that context. It's always, we really should be thinking of Baines and Cahill as legends, but we struggle with it because they didn't win anything. It just makes me, over 10 years later, so frustrated that 2009 team didn't win that FA Cup, because the 1995 team had players in who are now considered legends, or looked at in that sort of context.
They weren't
half as good.
No.
They weren't half as good.
You had your Joe Parkinsons and Earl Barretts, and there was all kinds of different players who with good figures and like you say, hard workers and everything. But Leighton Baines and Tim Cahill are two absolutely fantastic players for a long period of time as well.
Yeah, I think it's just that trophy thing. If they'd have won that final, I think Cahill and Baines and probably JYLFI, and it's probably about it. Arteta and Howard would be still remembered fondly, but I don't think they'd get legend status. Maybe Howard would. I don't think Arteta stuck around long enough. Who knows? But Cahill, Baines, JYLFI, I think would all be looked at as Everton legends if they'd lifted the FA Cup in 2009. But Cahill was just...
He was the one, I think, for me. Go ahead.
No, go on, you go.
I was going to say, do you know when a lot of people bemoan Everton and not winning and stuff and blame mentality? If anyone had the mentality we need, it was him.
Yeah, I always think of
when he played.
He was a big game player. We haven't had one for a while. We haven't
had one since him, if you ask me.
Yeah, probably. I was about to say Lukaku, but I couldn't be more wrong.
No, Lukaku was a flat track bully.
Yeah, he was. Right.
Against rubbish teams.
I think Richarlison's got a touch of that. I don't think he's quite near Cahill's level, obviously, for that. But I think he's got the makings of a player like that. I'm hoping. But I always think of clubs, especially in the Premier League where you see them all the time. I always think the clubs have got, and it's common in American sports, I always think clubs have got a franchise player, a player who is if you was to put one player from your club on the box of FIFA, who would it be? And there's always one person. Now, some players have got loads of good players and you don't really know who it is, but there's always one, I think, who's like, he's that player, he's that club's main man. He's the one that other supporters of other clubs identify with it. So Tim Cahill was our franchise player for years. Every single year we had great players. Even Baines and what have you. But I think when Tim Cahill was here with the the box, look at the thing behind you, like the boxing the corner flag, scoring the headers.
He's the face of Everton.
The franchise player of Everton. You look around the Premier League now. Spurs' franchise player is Harry Kane. Liverpool's a bit harder because they've got a lot of good players. It's Van Dijk. Van Dijk is the player who is the franchise player of Liverpool. It's just Everton's now. Who would it be? Richarlison. It's often an overlap with the best player, but if you've got several good players, it's the one who's iconic for your team. And right now, it's Calvert-Lewin. Not Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison. But Tim Cahill was the Everton franchise player for me for as long as he was here. He was just everything that was good about Everton. Like the tenacity, the fact that he was always there.
Yeah, he was. The mentality there for me, I think which is rare because obviously we bemoan winning mentality in the club, but he had that in abundance, and he was something.
If you just distilled Everton, what the supporters think of Everton, or what Evertonians think of Everton, into one player, I think it's Tim Cahill. Wasn't the world's best player for skill, but he had fight. He had Everton running through his veins. He got it tattooed on him. He was an Everton player through and through. I think he crystallised where an Everton player was. He'd mix it with the great Man United players, and go head to head with them. He wasn't a patch on Paul Scholes, but he'd outfight Paul Scholes all day.
Yeah, well, not many beat Nemanja Vidic in the air, and he did that a couple of times. Things like that.
I know. He's one of my top 3 favourite ever Everton players, Tim Cahill.
For me, he's probably one of my favourite ever Everton players. And interestingly, I didn't vote for any of these 3. I went for a very mad one. I think I'm not sure why, but I always seem to be love watching clips of him from. Obviously, it was before my time. It was actually around the time I was born, and I've gone with Andrei Kanchelskis.
I've said on other videos for anyone who hasn't seen any of them. I started following football in general quite late compared to some. So I was like a teenager when I got into football, whereas a lot of people do like it as a kid. I was around for Andrei Kanchelskis but never saw him. So, but from what I hear of other people, he was in the same sort of vein. Like he was just that fan favourite. Not the same type of player as Tim Cahill, but he was held in similar affections. So, I wouldn't.
Talismanic figure of the time, but also I think he's one of those players where I think I'm mystified what things were like when around the time I was born, and he was doing absolute bits around the time I was born, scoring hat-tricks against Wednesday and stuff like that. So I love watching back clips of him.
Yeah, great player. I mean, I can only speak to who I saw, and obviously, we can't. Neither of us saw Howard Kendall like at his best, but you know from other people that he was great, and it's the same with Kanchelskis really for me.
Yeah, it's, again, I think it's just when your dad telling you about like how good these players were, and that's all you'll ever get because we don't win anything nowadays.
Well, yeah,
it's a shame, but it is what it is. It's terrible, but it's Everton. Right, we'll get on to the final two. First of all, the individual awards. Young Player of the Season. In second place with 3 votes out of 17, Anthony Gordon, who, of course, really grew in prominence post-lockdown, didn't he? And it's not surprising to see a 19-year-old come in and do bits and, come second place in this nomination.
I mean, Anthony Gordon, I went into lockdown and everyone was raving over him. And I was sort of like, I didn't get it. I was like, I didn't think he was bad or nothing, but I thought, well, he's not really done much to make me, think, wow, what a player. We've got a talent on our hands here. But when we got into the lockdown, and when he played against Liverpool, I was like, he works hard, but he doesn't really affect anything. But then as the lockdown went on, he went from kids who other people seemed to think was great and I never saw it, to he's our best midfielder. We need to find a play. I was like, he needs to play every single game because we played him at centre midfield and he was better than our centre midfielders, and he's a forward who was playing.
We played him at left mid. He's better than our left mids. He played him at right mid. He's better than our right mids.
Yeah, he's come on a long way. You know what I think it is about Anthony Gordon? It's not just that, he's got ability. It's not just that he's committed, because if you saw his transformation, during lockdown, his physical, commitment and, his dedication. I think the biggest thing for him that isn't getting spoken about is that he suits 4-4-2 and the other midfielders don't. So he looks a cut above because he can play in the formation, and it's, Carlo's obviously identified that from training straight away and thought he's something I can work with. He's a player who I'm going to use. And he's not done what, all fans want to do and just go throw him straight in, play him every game. He's protected them. There's been times where we've been like, why isn't he playing? He was great last game. Get him on the pitch. But obviously Carlo
doesn't want a hype train to build up, I don't think.
No, and all the press keep trying to get that going because they ask about him constantly, and he did it with Branthwaite when Branthwaite came in. Carlo's obviously very experienced with, bringing in, young players, and he knows you got to protect them because he's going to make mistakes, he's going to have bad games, and I don't want it, everyone to think, oh, here comes another.
Here's the news of that.
Here's a superstar. And, we love in this country to knock them down, after building them up. This is, in the national media context, remember, this is the club that developed and brought through the most decorated English player ever. And possibly, arguably, the most talented English player ever in Wayne Rooney. So there's the temptation for any young Scouse player who comes out of Everton's academy to get a little bit of
the new Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, not as blunt as that, but the national media to get a little bit too overexcited. And Carlo's obviously not into all that, so he's protected him. He's played him when he's needed to, and he's obviously had one eye on next season same with Moyes Keane, probably thought these two are going to play a lot more next season, so I don't need to overexpose them now when there's games every 2 days. This is effectively a long pre-season for
that
them.
could also help us out in the respect that Moyes Keane and Anthony Gordon and players like that do enter next season still as a relatively unknown quantity, which, you know, is a sort of benefit to us in an attacking sense.
With Gordon, you know, I think it's a case of just trying to dampen expectations a little bit, because, you know, he's not going to come in and play every game and just rip everyone apart. I mean, he might. Let's hope he does. But I think it's a case of just, you know, doing it as and when, and but you know, introducing them slowly. But he's shown already. We've got an option there. There's a player we didn't have at the start of the season. We didn't spend a penny. If he could do that again and again and again, that'd be great. I'd sooner have Anthony Gordon come through than go out and buy another left midfielder. You know what I mean, or what have you? Like
he's better as it stands than Iwobi or Bernard, given what we've witnessed in the last 6 or 7 games.
Yeah. I wish he was a defensive midfielder, or we had another one who was a defensive midfielder, because that's where we need it. So and I've said on a previous video, I want Anthony Gordon to force his way into this team and not let go, whether that's on the left, the right. I want him to grab a position and go, that's mine, and not let go of it.
An interesting thing, I know we like to bash the under-23s, don't we? And sometimes David Unsworth recently, I think there's been a lot of questions asked. Could it now be a bit more beneficial, the under-23s, in that we now have a first team using 4-4-2 and an under-23s that generally use a 4-4-2? Could we now see players coming through that actually suit systems and maybe sync that up a bit better? Because that's something we need to do.
That's a big conversation for another video, and we have touched on that. Like, they need to mirror each other, but it's not as simple as doing that. You obviously need to have the stability long term of both managers to do that. So I think, come rain or shine, I think Carlo's in for the long term now, because we're not going to get a better manager. So if we have a bad run, we're going to have to weather it. But if Carlo is in long term, then we can gear the under-23s to mirror that system. It's hard to mirror the system when the system changes every 18 months.
When the manager gets the sack, yeah.
So now, if Carlo stays long term, then whether it's Unsworth or someone else or whatever, now that we're looking to move on a lot of the older under-23 players, we need to start developing the under-23 players into 4-4-2 type players.
4-4-2, yeah.
And sending them on loan at clubs who might play 4-4-2 and what have you. But Anthony Gordon is, we touched quite lucky there. He seems to have walked in and seems comfortable in it straight away.
Yeah, he settled very well. And I think it's worth remembering that it was more the Moyes era more than any others, where we brought through more kids, maybe because of a more settled system. So, here's to hoping that can sort of be the case again. And, we see some really good players come through from the under-23s.
Hopefully, yeah.
Fingers crossed. But obviously the under-23 player of the season, the young player of the season, this is interesting because he is 23 and he'll be 24 in October, but this has definitely been his breakthrough season. In first place with 10 out of the 17 votes, Mason Holgate. I voted for him myself. I think it's just been a great season for him, hasn't it? He started the season. We started it wondering if he had a career at Everton at all, whether he should have been sold, loaned. And now he's probably the first defender on the team sheet, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I've said before, I've not hid the fact that I was a doubter. I didn't see it. I didn't think he was good enough. I didn't think he'd get good enough. He's had an amazing season. He has done what you want all young players, and just on that, we need to accept as a fan base that from next season we can't class any of these as young players anymore. Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison and Holgate are not young players. I mean, more so Holgate and Calvert-Lewin. They've been young players forever. At this point, they're just players. But Holgate...
This was his breakthrough season, wasn't it? Holgate,
Yeah, he's gone from he's come on leaps and bounds. He went out on loan to West Brom and he played full-back. I think he even played right wing-back, and I was just like, that's not going to suit him. Like, I thought right-back might have worked for him. I thought he was quite lightweight for a centre-half at one point. I thought right-back might be good, but he's a defensive player. So his best position will be the right-hand side of a back three, which we didn't play and showed no signs of playing. So I thought, he's not going to work. We need players who are faster than him, stronger than him, and can play in a 2. And in response to that, he got faster, he got stronger, and he can play in a 2. So he's gone from, being the third choice, would have been fourth choice if we'd have got Zuma centre-back, to he's the number 1 centre-back now, and it's just about who plays alongside him, because he's the best on the ball. He's quick. He's not lightning fast, but he's quick for a defender. He's one of the quicker centre-backs. We've got 2 stoppers in Keenan and Mina. And I wouldn't say Holgate's the recovery centre-back. He's not that fast, but he's one who's got a bit of an all-rounder. He's ironed out some of the issues he had, which was concentration, on the ball. It's just, he's come on so much, and I'm glad we got him on a long-term contract, because I think that the rumours of Man City's interest were probably true. He'd suit Guardiola's style to a T.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of talk about, like, when we bought him from Barnsley and Stones, and that he was, I actually think he's developed better than John Stones in the long term. I think he's come through, sorry to interrupt, he's come through under a better manager. He's been around for ages. But his breakthrough came under Carlo Ancelotti, mostly. Like, he was getting in the team pre-Ancelotti, but he really developed right as Ancelotti came in and established himself. And Stones did it under Martinez, who was a very bad defensive manager.
A poor defensive manager who didn't tell him, didn't help him to iron out his mistakes, just told him that they weren't mistakes. So, everyone says Cruyff turns in the box. So, but Holgate's going to kick on better than Stones, because Holgate will focus on the good parts of his game, and the ball playing will be an extra, whereas Stones, unfortunately, has only ever been focused on his ball playing, and the defensive side of it sort of decreased, got weaker.
Quite weak defensively, I think, Stones. And
yeah, I like John Stones. I think he gets a bad rap. I think he's been let down quite a lot in his development years at Everton, and I think he's a better defender than people give him credit for. I don't think he's good enough to win, to be in Man City's first choice. But Man City are one of the 2 best teams in the world, so I think it's not being good enough to start every week for them doesn't make him a bad player. But he didn't get the development that I hope Holgate gets. He can go from strength to strength.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting. I was clamouring for Holgate to be one of our centre-backs because he was relatively quick. At the start of the Silver era, we brought Zuma in, and there was Keane, Mina and Holgate, and I thought, I'd like to see Holgate become one of the 2 first-choice defenders, and obviously that didn't work out. And when he went on loan, I thought, that's that for him. So it's really interesting to see him come full circle in that respect, and make the centre-back position his own. I'm really impressed with him, and long may that continue, And now next season, we won't be in this category because he'll be 24.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, we've got under 23 players who can get testimonials, like, they're only just left, so it's not his fault, but it's the club.
The Luke Garbett sponsored Young Player of the Season.
Yeah.
And then finally, of course, we move on to the final and the big award, of course, Player of the Season. In second place with 5 out of 17 votes, a player who's younger than Mason Holgate, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who, of course, did make his breakthrough more so last season as a first-team regular than he did this year. But there was still a lot of question marks around him, and he's another one who's really kicked on this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's developed incrementally every season that he's been in the first team. He gets a little bit better each season. But, the team and the managers weren't really helping him. I mean, that's not to say you build the whole team around a young player like that, but he wasn't able to give his best account of himself when he was playing up front by himself and he's running all the channels and so on. But the second that he got put in a 4-4-2 alongside Richarlison this season by Duncan Ferguson, he just transformed. He looked a different player. He was suddenly, a danger in front of goal, and he was scoring consistently, which he hadn't done at that point, and up until that point. And it's just been a revelation to say, well, clearly we were playing a striker who only suits a 4-4-2 up front by himself. There's much more expensive strikers in the league who are like that. You get some of them and play them up front by themselves, it's not going to work. And if we hadn't switched to a 4-4-2 and looked like we're going to stick with it now, because we obviously appointed a manager who likes 4-4-2, we probably would have sold him, because he wasn't probably ever. I mean, we might not have. We might have just had him as a useful player, but we probably were never going to see the best out of him if we were playing one up front and we'd have needed someone better to start. But fortunately for Calvert-Lewin, we've now switched, and it's just took him on leaps and bounds. He's similar to Holgate, where physically he's a lot bigger, he's a lot stronger, he's a lot quicker now. It's just about, I mean, supporters give him a hard time because he still is a little bit inconsistent, but I still think I think if we'd replaced him with a lot of other strikers, I think we'd suddenly miss him with the amount he does for the team. He's one of the most effective
he's
players.
As well. I think he's the kind of striker that Everton fans have always liked, a hard working striker, and he is.
Yeah, I mean,
he's big, he's imposing, and he's a number 9 who scores headers for Everton, which always goes down well.
It's just about playing to his strengths. I think what's he good at? He's good in the box. He's good at heading. He's good, like in and around the goal when he's not chasing things wide. He said that Ancelotti told him to stay central, and it was the first time he'd ever had a manager tell him that. What he's not good at is picking up the ball and running at players with it. So if you want him to do that, he's not going to do it, because that's not his forte. He never dribbles and takes someone on successfully. That's not what he does. You need to get him in the box. And if he doesn't score himself, he will create space for other players. There's been loads of players throughout football history who've got that. He's like an Emil Heskey type player.
That's actually a very good comparison there to say.
Very, very effective player. Makes the team he's in a lot better. The other strikers and players who he plays with
love playing with him.
Love playing with him. But the average fan sees him and goes, he's crap. Why is he playing? It's like, no, because he's not. That's not the point.
He's not the main goal scorer, and he never will be. Probably he's not a natural finisher.
Yeah, we haven't got 2 Richarlisons. We've got 1 Richarlison and 1 Calvert-Lewin. That's what I mean. Like, you couldn't have 2 of one of either of them. You'd have to have one and the other to make a partnership and build around that. Or did he win the Player of the Year, or was he second? Did you say
he comes second? He's got 5 votes out of the 17.
Right. Okay. I think I know who's won it then.
Yeah, and in first place with all of the other 12 votes of the 17 is, of course, Richarlison, who's actually younger than both Calvert-Lewin and Holgate.
Yeah, what can you say?
Yeah, Richarlison, this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. He's been comfortably the best player, hasn't he?
Yeah, easily our best player, easily our franchise player, easily a European level player, and I think he's going to go on to be a Champions League level player. We just need to keep up with his ability, because if we're not playing at those levels, we won't keep him. So we need, same as Lukaku before him, you can only get him for a while, and if you're not playing at a level that is appropriate for his ability, you won't keep him. Absolutely quality player. He's getting better as time goes on. He's another one as well who's a proper Everton player. He fights. A little bit sulky, but I like that when the player plays for you. I don't like it when they play against you. But some of the flashes you see from him, you just think there's a star here. He's going to be a star. This lad, he's playing regularly for the Brazil national team now. Like when people take it for granted now because he's been here a while. We've got a Brazilian striker who plays for Brazil. A striker who plays for Brazil who's got a single name with the number 7 Everton shirt. People just act like that's normal. I wanted that for years as a kid.
It is. And he is. He's slowly, if he continues, and I'd love to see him stick around for more than the 1 year. That seems to be what everyone's worrying about now. I'd love to see it be a bit longer, even if it's only another year after that. I don't know, but he's certainly got the makings of a possible sort of Kale-type player, hasn't he? He's got that kind of iconic status if he continues with this kind of trajectory for another year or so.
For me, you can't lose with Richarlison. He's either going to stay and he's going to get better and he's going to be class for Everton, or he's going to outgrow us and we're not hitting the level he should be at, and we'll got him on a long-term contract, so we get a lot of money for him, and we won't sell him for anything less than a lot of money. So you just reset your financial fair play and just go, all the best, lads. Go on and have a career. Go and play for the top clubs. I wish we could have been one for you. There's no losing with Richarlison. He either stays and he's great, or he goes and he gives you a load of money because he's class.
And I think the difference is if he does end up going like a Lukaku or somebody like that beforehand, I think he shows the club a lot more respect than Lukaku ever did, which is why like Cahill, he's so loved by the fans.
Yeah, he gets it. He's an Everton player. He knows, he knows what the club is. He knows what the supporters are. He's just great. There's a reason he's the most popular player, because he gets it, and he's in a team where not a lot of the players get it. And
he's in a team where not a lot of the players are good, and he's good.
There's that as well, yeah.
Which is, it's not hard to become player of the season when your boss and everyone else is awful.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he sums it up, really. That's why he's won this award with 12 votes out of the 17, because he's comfortably the best player, and he's been the best player all season, really. So, yeah, we'll end it at that anyway, because there's not much more we can say about that. But unsurprisingly, Richarlison is Everton's player of the season according to the Toffee Blues. Geniuses. What are we? Are we geniuses?
The contributors to the Toffee Blues.
I was going to say experts, but if you want to put it like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself an expert.
Speak for yourself. Anyway, there you go, guys. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think you would vote for in all of these categories as well, and give us some of your memories of the season. Drop us a comment below, give this video a like, and subscribe to the Toffee Blues for more content. And until next time, thank you for tuning in on the Toffee Blues. We'll see you later.